You know, we spend so much time talking about what goes into our car's engine, the air, the fuel, all that good stuff. But today, we're going to flip the script and talk about something that's just as critical, but way too often ignored: what comes out. We're diving deep into the engine's big exhale, the exhaust system.
So here's the big question that frames our whole conversation. Why is your car's exhale just as important as its inhale? Seriously, think about it. If you can't breathe out properly, you can't get a good deep breath in, right? Well, it's the exact same principle for your engine. And if you get this wrong, you're literally choking its performance.
So here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with why getting rid of exhaust gas is so dang important. Then we're going to follow its journey, meet the chemical cleanup crew, get to know the performance villain called backpressure, and finally wrap up with what all of this actually means for you and your car.
All right, let's jump right into part one, the engine's big exhale. We're getting to the absolute heart of why this matters so much.
Okay, so here is the bottom line. Your engine makes power by creating tiny, powerful explosions. After that little bang, you've got this puff of super hot, useless gas that has to get out. And I mean immediately. If it hangs around, it basically poisons the next batch of fresh air and fuel. You get a weaker mix, a weaker explosion, and, you guessed it, less power. Simple as that. Okay, so now that we know why it's so crucial, let's move on and actually trace the path of that hot gas. We're going to follow its entire journey from the heart of the engine all the way out to the tailpipe. You might look under a car and think, it's just some pipes, right? Oh, no way. The design is ridiculously complex. Engineers are basically playing a game of high-stakes 3D Tetris, trying to snake these tubes through an engine bay that's already jam-packed. Every single bend, every curve is carefully calculated so it doesn't create a traffic jam for the gas. It's a total masterclass in engineering. And this is where it gets really interesting. It's a classic Goldilocks problem. The size of the pipes has to be just right. Make them too big, and the engine might run cooler than it's supposed to, which, believe it or not, actually leads to higher emissions. But if you make them too small, well, you've just created a bottleneck that strangles the engine and absolutely kills performance. It's a very fine line. And it's not just about flow, it's about sound. A lot of sound. Every time an exhaust valve pops open, it releases this massive pulse of high-pressure gas. At highway speeds, this is happening thousands of times a minute. It's an incredibly intense, rhythmic blast. So the manifold and the muffler have this huge job of taming those chaotic pulses and turning what would be a deafening roar into a civilized hum.
Now, let's meet the unsung hero of the entire system. This is the component that has the tough job of cleaning up the engine's mess before it gets out into the world. Let's talk about the chemical cleanup crew, better known as the catalytic converter.
The job of this thing is basically a little chemistry magic show on the go. First, all the really nasty stuff comes in. We're talking unburnt fuel, carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides. Then, inside this honeycomb structure coated in precious metals like platinum, a chemical reaction is triggered. And just like that, it transforms those pollutants into much friendlier stuff. We're talking harmless water vapor, carbon dioxide, and nitrogen gas. Pretty amazing, right? Okay, so we've seen how the system is supposed to work. It's a beautiful, flowing dance. But what happens when things go wrong? Well, let's meet the main villain of our story today, backpressure. So what is backpressure? It's literally a traffic jam for your exhaust gases. It's when the gunk can't get out as fast as the engine is trying to push it out. The best analogy? Imagine trying to exhale with all your might, but through a tiny little coffee stirrer. That resistance you feel? That's exactly what your engine is fighting against. And the effect this has on your car's performance is, well, it's not subtle. It's devastating. You can see it right here. When you've got good, clean flow, your engine is happy and performance is high. But as soon as that back pressure starts to climb, performance just falls off a cliff. That internal traffic jam is literally holding your engine hostage. So, how much is too much? Well, engineers aim for less than 1.25 psi of back pressure when you're cruising. Now, to put that in perspective, your car tire is probably inflated to over 30 psi. This just goes to show you how incredibly sensitive your engine is to even the tiniest restriction on its exhale. It's a game of inches, or, well, pounds per square inch. All right, let's bring it all home. What does all this tech talk mean for you, just driving your car day to day? More importantly, how can you spot the signs of a sick exhaust system? The absolute number one biggest red flag is a sudden and really noticeable loss of power. If your car just feels sluggish, like it's struggling to get up to speed or climb a hill, a blocked exhaust is a prime suspect. You might also hear a rattling noise from under the car. That could be the guts of a failing catalytic converter breaking apart and causing that traffic jam we talked about. Okay, so let's lock in the big takeaways here. First, if your car feels weak, don't just think about the engine, think about the exhaust. Second, if you have an engine misfire, get it fixed. A misfire can dump raw fuel into the exhaust and literally melt your expensive catalytic converter. And finally, just appreciate that your car's exhaust system is this incredibly complex balancing act where every little detail matters. And that pretty much wraps it up. I'll leave you with one final question to think about the next time you get behind the wheel and put your foot down. Is your car really breathing freely? Because the answer to that question might be the key to unlocking the performance you've been missing.